To the dark, hide away, they say, 'cause we don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, you say, no one will love you as you are. But I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. I'm gonna say the blood, gonna drown in my. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. Look, here I come, and I'm on my drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no way. When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send the blood, gonna drown mine. This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be. This is me.
Still sounding great from the Greatest Showman. This is me. This is me. After our next tune, we're going to play in Josh Brolin, movie star. He's in the latest superhero movie, Deadpool 2. Pre-recorded interview. Bobby's in this one. And it's coming up soon.
Pure drama on BBC One.
I wasn't going to say anything compromising, but can't stop myself saying, I love you.
In 1975, the country was stunned by the revelation of an MP's illicit affair.
I had a homosexual relationship with Jeremy Thorpe, and if anyone wants to see me dead, it is him.
And his trial for conspiracy to murder,
I will vigorously defend these charges and plead not guilty.
based on a true story.
I was enthralled to the man. That's my explanation. Enthralled.
Starring Hugh Grant and Ben Whishaw.
You will destroy me, and the party, and my marriage.
A Very English Scandal, on Sunday night at 9 on BBC One.
years at bay. Oh, my love, don't stop running. Gotta send them up in flames, in flames, in flames. Figure it out, but don't stop moving. Go, figure it out, figure it out. You can do this, oh my love, keep on running. You gotta get through today. Yeah, my love.
Josh Brolin's movie career has seen him star in so many great films, including The Goonies. Oh my goodness, yeah. No Country for Old Men, Sicario, and more recently Avengers Infinity War. And from today, you can see Josh Brolin starring with Ryan Reynolds in Marvel's 11th installment of the X-Men film series Deadpool 2. And he's on the line from an hotel somewhere in West. Yeah. You know, we were all talking about the film, because we can talk about the film now, finally, who our favourite character was. And I said, well, Josh's character, Cable, is my favourite character.
Because I remind you of your dad.
Or me.
Or you.
Yeah. First of all, we should explain to people that haven't seen the first movie.
Not many.
Yeah. In the first Deadpool movie, Ryan's character, Wade Wilson, was diagnosed with a terminal illness, but was offered... Once recovered, Wade had accelerated healing and an unusual sense of humour, that's for sure. And he adopted the alter ego Deadpool to seek revenge against the man who destroyed his life and face. So what's the concept of this one?
It's more of a dysfunctional family story where this guy from the future who's been sent to the future as a kid is in the future. He goes back into the past having contracted this techno virus, and his deal is to kill this kid in order to change what happens when this kid grows up and affects the future.
This kid, as you put it, he's kind of got a superpower, but he's kind of good and evil all rolled into one, really, isn't he? But either way, he has to be saved.
I think that's the case with every character in Deadpool. They're all a little good and evil rolled into one. If you look at Deadpool, he's this great anti-hero, but what's coming out of his mouth just makes you cringe. The same thing with the kid, the same thing with Cable. It's like the great anti-hero Marvel movie.
You have to stay pretty serious and kind of stoic all the way through it. But
Not easy for me.
Well, yeah, but you must have been laughing.
You can't not laugh, especially if you like Ryan Reynolds. It's been about a year being involved with him, and I do my best to look at him in this kind of awful light. I just saw him in the gym this morning. We're at this hotel, and I went downstairs, and I walked in, and I saw him. And one actor, especially when you're doing this promotion, you don't want to see the actor that you're doing promotion with at the gym.
No.
And I think under my breath, I actually said, I hate you.
Did you lose all respect for him?
Yeah, because he was doing this exercise that I can't really do. And he's 41 and I'm 50.
I don't believe that, because you look fantastic in this movie. On you.
Surgery.
Does it hurt?
It does hurt.
Surgery,
But I'm willing to do anything for the movies and your entertainment.
Good for you. Thank
I was
you.
going to add to that. Do you do your own stunts? Because I counted 154 stunt people on this team. That's exhausting.
Did you actually count that?
Yeah, I counted them 154.
All uselessly paid because I did my own stunts.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. I have a guy, Alex, who was actually Ryan's stunt double for the first movie and my stunt double for this movie, who's amazing. The bigger stunts, but Ryan and I did a lot of the fighting together.
And does your stunt double have that tremendous chin that you've got?
You mean the double chin?
No, the chiseled chin.
Oh, the chiseled chin. Sorry. The Terminator chin. He does, actually. It's a little narrower than mine. I think mine is a natural, you know?
His is stuck on.
Yeah, his is stuck on, exactly. I had the prosthetic eye and all that kind of stuff. He came with a prosthetic chin that was kind of hanging off
Very
on
good.
one side.
All right, so look, let's hear a little clip and then play some music, and then we'll come back and talk some more to Josh Brolin about Deadpool 2.
I was born into war, bred into it. People think they understand pain, but they have no concept of it. What's the most pain you've ever felt? Maybe the kind that leaves you more machine than man.
for the sunshine sky, and there's a reason why I'm feeling so high. Must be the season when that love light shines all around us. So let that feeling grab you deep inside and send you reeling where your love can hide. And then those feelings through the moonlit nights with your lover. Just let your love flow like a mountain stream, and let your love grow with the smallest of dreams, and let your love show, and you'll know what I mean. It's the season. Let your love fly like a bird on the wing, and let your love find you to all living things, and let your love shine, and you'll know what I mean. That's the reason. There's a reason for the warm, sweet nights, and there's a reason for the candle lights. Must be the season when those love lights shine all around us. So let that wonder take you into space and lay you under. It's loving embrace, just feel the thunder as it warms your face. You can't hold back. Just let your love flow like a mountain stream, and let your love grow with the smallest of dreams, and let your love show, and you'll know what I mean. It's the season. Let your love fly like a bird on the wing, and let your love find you to all living things, and let your love shine, and you'll know what I mean. That's the reason. Just let your love flow like a mountain stream, and let your love grow with the smallest of dreams, and let your love show, and you'll know what I mean. It's the season. Let your love fly.
Back now with Josh Brolin. Now, in this new movie, Deadpool 2, Deadpool forms a team of mutants called the X-Force to protect young mutant Russell from a time-traveling soldier called Cable, who's played by Josh. So he is kind of Deadpool's enemy, really, for much of the movie. We don't actually want to give too much away about the plot. I mean, I might have done too much already, but...
Did you just do that off the top of your head?
Yeah, I just remembered it.
You liar. You liar.
Okay, I read a bit of it.
Yeah. That was great. You went into this kind of staccato voice.
Yeah, I know, my explaining
Hello,
voice.
my name is Steven.
Yeah.
Deadpool is about... No. So, yeah, you know, this idea that I thought was so great of Ryan's, because we talked before I decided to do it and to say yes. And we had a nice conversation, and I didn't know him at all. I had seen him at a party towering over everybody else, and I thought, I should work with that guy one day, being a small guy myself. He talked about this kind of Eddie Murphy, Nick Nolte relationship, and I loved that reference.
Yeah.
You know, or Danny Glover and Mel Gibson. And so this kind of sets it all up, and then we'll continue on with X-Force, and I think we'll germinate that relationship.
Did you have a finished script on this, or did you change it?
I don't think in comedy you ever have a finished script. There's a lot of improvising, there's a lot of ad-libbing, there's a lot of, and because Ryan was the producer and a writer on this thing, we would do a scene, or we would do a take of the scene, and then he'd kind of run away, and he'd look at the monitor, and he'd work with Paul and Rhett, the writers, and he'd come back, and then I'd have a suggestion, and then he would have 3 suggestions, and or he'd look at me and nod, and I knew that meant no.
Do you prefer to work like that, or do you prefer to kind of know exactly where the boundaries are, or is that kind of free? It's a bit like, I suppose, improing on live on stage, isn't it?
I think it's freeing in hindsight. I think when you're doing it, you're absolutely horrified at the fact that you're going to come across so dumb and so awful, which I've experienced, by the way. Some movies you do it, and if you don't have a really good director that kind of knows what magic to pull out of each moment. Not so the case with this movie.
What I think people will enjoy, Josh, as well, is the kind of deconstruction, the fourth wall thing. I don't want to give too much away, but looking to the camera and making reference to the film that you're making, and or interesting references in from other movies, etc., and other comics and other superheroes. There's a lot of that going on, which is very, very funny, and then it whips back to the plot instantaneously, and you think, did I just hear that? Did I just see that?
And I think that was the thing that was established in the first movie. I mean, Ryan's been living with this character for 8 years, trying to convince somebody to give him the money to be able to do it, and he was never able to do that. I mean, they did a Wolverine version of it, and they put a patch over his mouth, the kind of worst thing you can do, because everything is based on the inappropriateness that comes out of his mouth, which makes it so great. But I love that fourth wall break. It's a very, very funny, innovative idea.
Let me ask you about Sicario. You're going to do another Sicario movie, because the first one was awesome. Yeah.
This whole idea of like doing another movie or kind of stretching your profit as far as you can, I don't like that idea so much. I love things to be finite. But Taylor Sheridan, the writer, came up with an amazing story between Benicio's character and my own, and it was a fun ride. That's what I'll say.
We should say this for anybody that didn't see the original, it's a US-Mexico border, drug cartel, trafficking and all of that kind of stuff, right?
A comedy.
yeah.
Especially the ending.
Oh, dearie me.
Yeah.
I mean, are you physically exhausted doing films, or do you step in and out of the characters? I mean, what kind of actor would you be in that way?
I know the last 2.5 years, I've done 5 films back to back. Now I'm talking to you about them, which is more exhausting than doing all 5 films.
I can hear it in your voice. Enough's enough.
He wants to go now.
But
You need a
no,
holiday.
you hear it in my voice. I hear it in your voice. The truth of the matter is I'm going to take some time off, and you do all this stuff so you can kind of live personally. And I'm going to take a year off, and then after that we have some plans to develop some really fun stories.
How many more Deadpool movies are you going to be doing?
17.
No, but you've signed up for 4, right?
No, I have signed up for 4. I've never signed up for 4 of anything. That was one of those things that when they presented the movie, they were like, it's 4 or nothing. In the beginning, I was like, yeah, I think I'll take nothing. You know, I like watching the movies. I don't necessarily want to be in it. But then my wife, luckily, said, why don't you just read it and see if you like it or not? And I read it, and I just laughed for 2 hours. So 4 sounds fun.
And then you've got another Avengers to do as well, right?
I've already done the other Avengers. We did it back to back. I think I have some reshoots to do and some added scenes now that this one is out. That one's going to come out a year from now, but that one's doing well. We're very happy.
Congratulations on your performance in Deadpool 2. Absolutely brilliant. You're my favourite. You can see Josh Brolin in Deadpool 2. It's in cinemas right now.